So I mean, that
Mm.
brings us. I know we didn't talk about before the show started when we were discussing things we talk about, but what do you guys think of the Vitality roster?
The four man
Yeah.
roster.
Mm.
Speaking of
Yeah.
like a fourth person that you're paying, like because normally in sports, like you were talking about, you get access to all the training facilities, all the support that a team would have, and all that
Mm.
stuff. And now Vitality has four people who has access to
Well, not
everything
Yeah.
yet,
What is
right?
what
Third
what does
split?
that what does that
soon.
look
Oh,
like? No, it's the spring split. They'll have four. But
Yeah.
yeah, what does that look like? What's the esports equivalent of like? Oh yeah, you get access to all our training facilities. It's like yeah, you can come around the boot camp facility. We've got an Ethernet cable for you. We've got a monitor. You know, you
I
can
mean,
use
you
all
really
this.
don't,
It's
right?
Isn't that
Because
just
gonna
you
be
like
can also
great.
Aussies
switch
though?
out players and scrims.
Like,
Uh,
well, they want to do a 4-man roster, Johnny. You love 4-man rosters, so it would just be that all four of them would be scrimming, and they'd probably like try different rotations throughout the scrim.
I think there's potential in a four-man roster, but I don't
There's no
know.
potential on
I
four-man
don't know if I
rosters.
believe it. No, I think there is.
I
Maybe
don't
not in the
believe it.
short term, but I
There's,
believe a
there's
four-man
the
roster could
splits
work.
would be too short. You get 3 events to perform. You can't just decide, oh, this event we're gonna play as Radosin, and this event we're gonna play with Alpha. Like, no, you can't do that.
I don't
It's
think
too
it's
short.
event wide though. I
Yeah, I
think
think
if you
the
do it
idea
right,
is
you
like
do it mid
we
series.
struggle with this team. Let's use this player for this team, kind of thing, right?
Or
Kind of.
so like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocket League is
Yeah.
so one day you're doing well, one day
Yeah.
you're not doing well.
Yeah.
One day like a player's just sick. You know, we saw what that could do to a player like Arsenal at Worlds where he's literally sick. Like having a viable substitute to play would be beneficial in that situation. But almost all the subs in the Rocket League scene are just not anywhere near the level, and they never get practice with the team. So
The
they're
way
just
you
not
described
gonna
it then
get
is like
subbed in.
that's like a substitute, not a four-man roster would be sort of all right, this isn't working, get what's his name in, rather than like this guy's sick and clearly can't play. I feel like a four-man roster is like pretty more fluid than just like our main three's like sick or something. Like it's more
Mm.
okay, like there's a bit of a clash going on right now, or the vibes aren't quite there. Let's get in this
It
guy, that
happens
guy.
in yeah, it happens in MENA a fair bit more than other regions because they've got very like strict exam like times. So sometimes one player on a team just will not be able to play an event because they're studying for an exams. Their family are saying, "No, you're studying, you're not gaming." Unlucky, and they just have to have a fourth player, or else they won't be able to play the event. Because yeah, they're very very strict to their school compared to other regions. It seems.
Weirdly enough, I was semi-involved in what looked like a 4-man roster back in the day, and my major experience was is that you kind of have to always replace the same guy because, as you said, Rocket League's so fluid and crazy. The rotations are so important that unless you're really used to playing with each other and you can kind of like fit in similar-ish roles and just change up, like just make slight changes from you subbing in. If you don't do that, then it all falls apart anyway. So
I mean, unless you just put in like a lot of effort into practicing with all different combos, but I feel
yeah,
like
but
that'll
then
take
you're
a lot more
like
effort
you're
than
draining so much
yeah.
time on scrims to like not be the best at everything. You're jack of all trading every single rotation, right?
I've got it figured out. Hold on. So you know how there's this like theory going around. I hear it all the time. But if a team or a region get to play against a player or even a specific team many times, they figure them out. What if your fourth player never scrims? He's unfigurable outable. No one can figure him out because they've never played him. So like he's a complete wild card. They just play ranked with him. You know, they hop on the Smurfs with him. And then whenever they're losing, they just whip him out. No one's figured him out. Free wins.
Yeah.
Isn't that like what everyone said about
We
Secret
all
at the
tried that
major?
with Jesse on
Isn't-
different teams, but
Isn't that
it
Secret
never
at the
works.
major though? Everyone was like, we can't figure this Sam team out. They're not playing like all the other Sam teams. Like that's why they got top 4.
It's like Jesse at DreamHack.
Yeah.
It's Mystic can come.
Exactly.
That's
That
funny.
is the biggest Cobian fit. Like, not really. I think figuring them out somewhat, like you know how they play. There's certainly an advantage in scrimming a team a lot, but the whole like we just can't figure them out or we figured them out is so. I think it's silly.
I mean,
It's to
I
say
think
that any
there's
team is that one dimensional is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
come on,
I think there's something to be
everyone's got
said about
lanes.
like scrimming and getting the repetitions in for not only like solo challenging someone or just recognizing where a team tends to do like a pass versus a solo play and that kind of thing. It's not so much that you're figuring out the entire play style, but you're figuring out trends where maybe you just have a better chance of predicting something, giving you an opportunity more often. And I think it's not so much that you're getting them to a T, but you're just getting the favor, like the odds a little bit more in your favor.
It does. It also just gives you a switch up where it kind of like is a quick and easy way to change your play style, right? And so if things aren't working well, then you can do it. I don't think it's worth doing over just being better as a team though. But there is some advantages.
I feel like
It is.
that. I don't know. I feel like that only works if you have multiple games this season. Like if you're relying on maybe one loss or two losses, you can't afford to swap a player.
Hmm.
I don't agree with that. If you're afford like if it's like a league play type thing where you're playing like 16 teams or 15 teams, maybe the first couple games ain't going well, so you can swap it and then swap back later in the season. But if you lose once, you're in lower bracket, or you lose once because of the single M, and you're going down 0-2 in a series, it's like super risky to just outright swap someone.
I think from a mentality point of view,
Yeah.
that it doesn't help because you're like, oh, but if we just didn't play with this guy and we played with that guy instead, we would have won. And then all of a sudden, everybody's getting mad about who they're fielding. And
I mean, it could also be a mentality thing too. I mean, everyone like in the Rocket League scene now has never played like that. What if a team like starts like mentally training for a 4-man roster and it's no longer an issue, like getting swapped out for someone else?
Yeah, what if they've just got a Dominus player on the team and it's like, oh no, they're bringing out the Dominus player. Like, who knows what they're gonna do? Who knows what they're actually hitting, what they're whiffing? It's gonna be a whole different game.
But back to Zen in terms of that specific roster. What has anyone been? I get there's been a few players who've been massively hyped up. Like the first one was probably Justin. Probably say Squid back there,
Grub.
Justin. But has any player been this hyped up and not been like at least somewhat? I don't know. I don't say like top 5, top 10 in the world, but like
Aqua?
was Aqua as hyped up as Zen though?
No way.
No,
Aqua's
no,
not
no.
as hyped up
Aqua-
as Zen.
I
No.
was saying
Aqua was
Aqua's
also-
better than Daniel.
He was overshadowed by Daniel 100%
Yeah.
because they came out at the same time.
A lot of the
Zen-
plebs were definitely all behind Aqua.
So is Zen like? Is there any way he doesn't live up to, at least somewhat live up to what everyone's expecting? Like all the pros talk about it like he's just gonna take over.
No, he's a freak. He'll pop off.
My question is he going to be hindered by being on Vitality instead of a different top team like a Moist? Or
Oh, I think
Yeah,
for sure.
I hate the players are constantly signing contracts like so early. Multiple players like they sign it at the very beginning of an off season, and then they get like really good offers, but they can't take them because they've signed a contract really early and locked themselves in. Or in this case, Zen's locked himself into Vitality for what I assume is some money instead of just waiting out and potentially getting like a really
It's a
great
lot of
offer.
money though, surely.
To
I
be
hope
fair,
so.
he just got paid to be banned. How sick is that? Like, I assume he got paid. Like, imagine you just got paid to be banned. That's a pretty good deal. He's just like trolling ranked
But-
games. Never mind scrims. He's having a great time, so I can't really blame him. Plus, it's Vitality. It's a big org in France, so French players are obviously going to have more incentive to sign. I don't think it's a bad move for him to sign early and actually get paid.
Maybe he has a mentality if he wants to be the star player of his roster. So he wants to lead the charge for Vitality.
He's going to need to contend with number 6 in the world, Alpha, too.
Yeah, but you know what
really
it could have
good
done?
player.
The team that he could have been on, we're seeing it happen slowly because now we have 2/3 French speaking on Moist. They've made multiple roster changes. They could get rid of Joyo next split, do the full 3-man rotation of the entire roster, so none of the original players, and they could have had a full French speaking roster with Zen. He's missed out.
Joyo's got to see the
Wow.
writing on the wall at this point. He better be learning French. He better be taking his lessons. Bonjour and s'il vous plaît and all that. He's got to get on that because it's very clear signs in the Moist camp.
Wow, I actually didn't think about that. Joyo's in a bit of trouble historically.
Oh, no.
Like he's in a lot of
Historically,
trouble.
yeah.
He's the what show is it with the kid in the bus that's on fire? It's like chuckling like I'm in danger.
Well, The Simpsons.
That's Joya.
You forgot the name of the
I was brain farting. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Oh no. Oh dear.
I know. It's fine.
Mr.
Regain,
Little
regain.
Ralphie. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if Zen's just getting the bag, I think that's fine. And I think it's not like if
Yeah.
Vitality's a terrible team. Like, well, they're not fantastic. They're not always top 5.
Hey,
and
they're
they
they're
can win a major.
thereabouts. They're in the mix right now. They're definitely in the mix. And they could get a top 8, could get a top 4 this time around. You never know.